when it was offered to me by an actual shaman from the Southwest to be ordained as a minister, I took him up on it and was blessed to become a minister. Um, about 35 years ago, a long time ago. And so I consider my ministry a healing ministry, and I consider it a ministry of love. And so other kinds of churches like Unity Church, Church of Religious Science, Spiritual Living, they often ask me, Unitarian, ask me to be a substitute minister because I love to just share. So that's how that all happened. And it was a beautiful ceremony. Absolutely beautiful.
Wow. I love it. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Eric Taylor, Big E Astrology, back with another amazing episode of my Knowledge is Love Astrology podcast, episode 252. I have such a magical and amazing guest today. She is a spirit walker, a reverend, an aura seer, a spiritual guide, a wise woman, and you're going to see the most amazing just spiritual drummer I've ever experienced in my life. I present to you guys today Miss Elke Macartney. How are you today, my friend? How are you feeling, Elke?
I'm doing fabulous, and thank you for pronouncing my name correctly. I always love hearing Elke.
Well, listen, your name is unique. Your soul, your spirit is unique, and we are going to share all this just wonderful energy with the collective today. And I guess where I want to start is Reverend. How did that come about? How do you practice? You told me you do weddings, spiritual weddings. Like, share with the audience that experience and how you became a reverend.
I was brought up. I'm German born, to German and Polish parents, and so when we got to America, we attended the Presbyterian church for a long time, and I loved it, except I wanted to be a minister. And, I begged, I pleaded, I talked to the various pastors, and they said, well, now they're dear. So I gave up on the dream and became a counselor instead. And that's its own story. But when it was offered to me by an actual shaman from the Southwest to be ordained as a minister, I took him up on it and was blessed to become a minister. Um, about 35 years ago, a long time ago. And so I consider my ministry a healing ministry, and I consider it a ministry of love. And so other kinds of churches like Unity Church, Church of Religious Science, Spiritual Living, they often ask me, Unitarian, ask me to be a substitute minister because I love to just share. So that's how that all happened. And it was a beautiful ceremony. Absolutely beautiful.
Wow. I love hearing that. And I got to jump into the astrology here.
Okay.
That connects with your Sagittarius North Node and Saturn in Sagittarius in the 11th house, right? Being sort of the spiritual leader and guiding, sharing your wisdom, beliefs, and philosophies with groups, with the in the pulpit with the people. So like that is, I mean, it's in the chart. So it's so beautiful. I just, and you being a shaman, like, okay, so Elke is an Aquarius rising, Pisces, Sun and Mercury, and Aries moon. When did you, because I feel like it is, shamanism is really such it calls you, right? Or your soul selects it. So how did you get involved and when did you become a shaman?
I first heard the actual term when I was 26 years old.
Mm,
So back in the 70s.
okay.
And I met a man that I literally ran into. And I lived in Chicago.
Right.
I ran into him while picking over the ice on my way to work, and all of a sudden I looked up into this man that I crashed into, and I was looking up at this very beautiful face. He looked like an African Eskimo.
Oh my God.
That kind of a combination. He was from Africa, but he said, "Hey, shaman girl, nice to see you. We'll talk sometime." And then he just skedaddled, and I thought, "What in the world?" And I ran up. I tried to catch up with him, and I did, and I said, "What what are you talking about? What is that word? What is a shaman girl?" And he says, "Well, you see things, don't you?" And I said, "Oh, yes, because I
Uh,
see auras,
yeah.
right?" But nobody knew, or very few people knew that I did.
But he did.
But he did, and he said, "Well, I see things too, and I'll come find you." So that's what he did for about 13 months. He would find me on a street corner, on a bus, in a park. I would always have time to spare, and he taught me things. And so he was from Liberia, and then because of other wonderful, wonderful circumstances that led me to move to Seattle spontaneously, I saw him for the last time on a park bench. We were watching swans swimming, and he said to me, "Look, your time is approaching where you need to step into being a shaman woman." I said, I, or something like that, something really elegant. But that was the last time I saw him. When I got to the Seattle area, I was introduced to many different shamans and medicine people from around the world, including Siberia, Africa, Southwest US, and so on. And everyone that I would meet, they just would stroll into my life, teach me some things, stroll out of my life. I never had one teacher,
Yeah.
and that's never been my way. I'm not a kind of a guru person, although a lot of people consider me a teacher, but it's more about yeah, it's more about being present for others as a shaman, which is really one word for walking between the worlds. Do we
Oh,
have
something. You
sounds?
got an echo there.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Is a cell phone or another window open or something?
Nope, not that I
Okay.
know of. I'll make sure everything is closed. See, does that work? Hello?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I have hesitated to use the word shaman for a very long time. I have a number of Native American friends and allies that I know, and some of them take offense at using that word. But then I came to discover it's not a Native American word. It is a word from the tribal peoples in Siberia, the
Yeah.
Tungus people, and it means a walker between the worlds. And I think that's very appropriate for who I am, because I am walking that world between spirit and matter all the time.
So that's so beautiful, and I'm kind of fascinated by the childhood years. Like,
Yeah.
did you always see people's auras? When did you start to come to the realization that maybe you were different from siblings or other kids? And were you always extremely spiritual? I mean, I know that Pisces Sun and Mercury, you're kind of always up in the spiritual realms, right?
Yes. My parents used to call me a dreamer all the time, and it was very annoying to me, especially when I was a teenager. Um, you know, as far back as I can remember, I mean, even in preschool years. I saw spirits. I saw what are called elementals or fairies, or some kind of entity. I saw colors flying around people. I thought everyone did. It was a non-issue. It was just that's what it was. But I do remember asking my dad at one point, "Hey, Mrs. Gianni down the street, she's really red today. Is she really angry? Is she mad?" And he said, "Yes, honey. Your skin turns red when you're angry." And I said, "No, no, 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 not her skin. Her clouds. Her clouds are red." So I think in order to protect me, my parents started to, uh, tell me that I had a good imagination. This is your imagination. You have a good imagination. And I think I heard that enough that at around 6 years old or so, which is a fairly typical time from what I can see for a lot of adults who put their gifts away for a while. It just was put on a shelf, and the sight went away. And I was a very sensitive kid, though. I had, precognitive dreams. I was introduced to yoga at 13 and loved it. Was meditating. I mean, this was the 60s, and nah, not really. So, yeah, I knew I was different, but I couldn't put my finger on it. Then at 21 years old, though, I woke up to seeing auras again. Thought I was going crazy. Saw this glow around my first husband. I was, propped up on my elbow, totally in love. We were just married. And
how old were you when you got married?
21.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was like a few nights later. And I'm like, oh, wow, far out. Oh my gosh, look at him. He's glowing. Oh, this must be love.
Well, no, but so that's really fascinating because so are you saying that for you, you saw his aura and his colors and that kind of gave you the license or made you feel more connected to him?
Well, at that moment, I was just trying to figure it out. And I was studying psychology. I was in college.
Okay.
And so I thought, I know, the endorphins are flowing. I had just learned that term. And it's doing something to my optic nerve. And, I was trying to come up with some kind of reasonable thing. And then I went to sleep. And the next morning, he was shining like a god. He was like up against a window and these colors are around him. And I went, whoa, wait a minute. And I rubbed my eyes, nothing would make it go away. I ran to the window, looked at the people going to work. We lived over a parking lot in a busy street, and everybody was glowing. And that was the start of it. That was the start of the rest of my life.
So once it turned back on at 21, it's been on full blast. Through the years, have you seen, right? So, okay, let me backtrack. So what you said about a lot of people putting their gifts down, right, around 6, and I think of it, between 0 and 7, we're still kind of in between the two worlds. That's why age 8 is like the age of understanding. And that's why in certain European countries, unlike America or the Western civilizations, but like I know Sweden, I think Denmark and Finland, a lot of the families, they don't start kids in school until age 7. So that way they're still between 0 and 7, you're in that Aries energy, you're still this childhood genius.
Yeah.
And so with kind of the journey through life, have you seen that being able to read auras and see people's spiritual energy and all that, has it up and down and flows, or just a steady increase in your life?
Absolutely a steady increase. I call them reboots. Every once in a while, I'll wake up and there's more. More content, more Yeah, definitely more content, more input, but also more connection with what it is that I'm seeing and
Really?
feeling
Mm.
and discerning and channeling. I've channeled through 2 books. I've channeled through all kinds of things. I call them downloads. And um, you know, I really believe, and I know it's kind of an overused word, channeling, but it's more accurate to my process. I pretty much am in channeling all the time, including right now. I mean, it's channeling a frequency, and that's all that auras are. And some people see auras, some people feel them, some people hear them, clairaudience. There's different ways of perceiving them, for sure.
Is the aura seeing, is that something that's a gift or can it be taught to others?
You know, Here's the thing. I'm going to answer it this way. I feel very strongly, and I've observed that we all have spiritual gifts, all
Yes.
of us. You know that you have entered a room, and either you feel right at home or you say, oh, shoot, I have somewhere else to be right now. Bye, or
Yeah.
you met someone, there's a bond, or, you came to this drum experience at the Near Death Experiencers conference, and you felt the energy of it, which prompted you to, come up to me afterwards, but you
Yes.
felt the energy of it.
Yes.
That is part of your gift, the feeling of it, the knowing of it, the knowing of the truth. So,
Yes.
what I say to people, and I do teach classes once in a while on experiencing the aura, but note the use of the term, it's not seeing the aura,
Okay.
because what I want to do is I want to support your gift and everyone else's gift.
Yeah.
A lot of people do say to me, though, this is so common, I can't even tell you. I mean, I hear it every other day. Oh, I wish I could see like you do. And I just smile at them and just say, no, no, you don't. Unless you're willing to see everything, like everything.
So that's really deep when you're saying that, and you're kind of like, pulling back the curtain. And we're going to get to in a second, because you did a aura reading for me, and I want you to talk about that and share that with the audience. I was so blown away and fascinated by it, and just everything. But so when you mentioned the elementals and the fairies, right? So we're in getting ready November 19th, Pluto Aquarius till 2044, the next 20 years. The age of Aquarius, we're going through this great shift, right? Going from the 3D to the 5D, the veil is thinning. M class, X class, solar flares, like the last 2 years, they've been off the charts. Supposedly, September 29th, we had this mini moon or asteroid coming and going to be in our atmosphere for however long, who knows. There's just a lot going on in the world spiritually, right?
Right.
And I tell people that shifting ages from the Piscean age, the age of Aquarius, it's a bumpy ride. It's a little wonky, and you're going to go through a lot of things. But
Yes.
I try to tell people I see the veil thinning, and I encourage my audience. Spiritual discipline is the key. Taking no days off, doing something. You don't have to be perfect, but make the attempt, make the effort, and try different things. Where do you see us at now, spiritually and energetically? And what advice would you give to those who are already aware and doing the spiritual work? And then to those who may, from now in the next few years, or just, coming up soon, start to awaken?
Yeah.
How do you guide them and help them?
I have both in my practice,
Okay.
and I'm known to be really good. Like I like to say to people, I'm so glad I'm your first.
Oh God, I love that. That's very Aries moon of you. That is very funny. I love that. And by the way, when you bumped into the African gentleman in Chicago, the you like you were kind of like the way you were describing it. It was such a third house local community Aries moon experience, right? It was just like boom, like Aries with the ram, because people don't know rams are actually like almost like me, like legally blind, and they learn spatial awareness by banging into things head first. So you literally banging into him to get like this connection with the shaman guy, like that was your Aries moon in the third house. So that was beautiful.
Well, I'll tell you what. This is why I work really well with people who are just waking up too,
Yeah.
and they're kind of like blink, blink, blink. Oh, blink. I'm and don't know what to do with themselves because they do literally think that they're going crazy.
Yeah.
I'm a volunteer facilitator for IANDS, the International Association for Near-Death Studies.
Yeah.
They have sharing groups for people with spiritually transformative experiences and near-death experiences, but also in my own practice and in groups. I have people coming to me all the time who are either fully awake and just like, all right, let's go, but how do we do this?
Yeah.
And also, oh, there's that sound thing again. But also, uh, I don't, I don't know what this is, Elke, but
Yeah.
somebody sent me to you.
Mm.
So I ask people all the time, okay, how did you find me? And some people said, I don't know. um, I think somebody sent me to you. Well, why did they send me to you? They just said, go see Elke.
Mm.
And I think it's because I don't just have compassion, but I actually have some real practical ways of seeing the world when you are awakening and aware of more and more and more and more.
Yeah. That's beautiful. And people need that guidance. And see, I tell people, because like you being the Pisces Sun and Pisces Mercury, my wife has those same placements. And
Wow.
for myself, I'm a Virgo. And one thing that I notice about Pisces women, it's a magical energy and sign, right? It encompasses all 12 signs, and it's like the spiritual grandmother, right? And it is pure agape Christ-like love, the book of Ephesians, the compassion, the kindness, the empathy. I find for me, I was slow to marry because I waited till 37, but it was about finding that spiritual mate, but also trust is a big thing for me. And
Yes.
Pisces women, you guys know how to make a man feel like they can open up and literally just show the whole heart and soul and trust. And so have you always sensed that in yourself? Like
Yes.
holding that space for men, but just even for any soul
Yeah.
to feel safe and grow with you?
Absolutely. For most of my life, my adult life, I've been in relationship. I've been married 3 times. The last marriage lasted 35 years, but I've always been in relationship. I can probably cobble together maybe a few months of singlehood until my sweetheart of 35 years died in August 2020.
Mm.
And it was 3 years and 3 months to the day when I met my current sweetheart, who lives far away.
Yeah.
Because I was truly actually enjoying being alone.
Right.
And I'm really fussy now. I want that spiritual connection at a very, very high level. And I looked on me in the community and said, nah. So, but to make a long story short, about the support of the men in my life, the women too, but especially of the men in my life, was in a very, definitely a spiritual holding and support. My husband, Jim, of 35 years, I was the voice of spirit for us. I was the voice of spirit for us.
Mm.
Not that he wasn't spiritual too, or had anything to share, and people nowadays, they call me Shaman Mama. or or Shamama for short.
The mama, I love that.
Yeah. So
Well, okay, so for me, I'm a Scorpio rising, and I'm very empathic. And when I meet people, I joked and I mentioned to you the other day or yesterday that I am like an extroverted introvert
yeah,
because of how I can feel and see other people's energies. When I meet someone, it's like I can see right through their soul. I can see the good or the bad intentions.
yeah.
And so that's what happened. Amazing IAMS woman and presenter, Kimberly Braun, who I've had on the podcast. My wife and I met her at the IAMS in Phoenix where I presented. And we had just gotten there and she was like, oh, I'm on my way to this amazing, drum session. Do you guys want to come? And we had time before I was speaking, and I was like, yeah, we don't know what to do. We want to see something, of course. And then we came in. Number one, the energy was just very nice in the room. But then as you started to speak and explain everything and start your drumming, which you will share with us today towards the end of the episode, and I'm so excited for the audience to enjoy this. But I mean, Elke, my wife and I were both just like, for me, it was so fascinating because there was a gentleman to the right of me, and he came in a little bit later than me, and I was already a minute or two late, but he came in a wheelchair. And, he was fine. He didn't need assistance or help, but it was a little distracting because of the noise. But I was so in tune with you, it was almost like I could say to myself, you hear that, but that's not where your attention needs to be.
Yeah.
I need to be spiritually centered and focused with Elke and what she's doing because it literally radiated through my crown, third eye, and heart chakra and down to the root, my entire body. I felt tingling, but it was just like you said, like this knowing. And it was like, I know what she's doing or the energy or her, like it was a familiar, like maybe a soul recognition. I think maybe is the best way for me to describe it, but it was such a powerful experience. So
Yeah.
um, do you find that, because you had mentioned that myself and some other people came up to you afterwards, and trust me, it's not knocking or saying anything less of people who just enjoyed it and walked out, right? Maybe they had places to go, this and that. But do you find that certain souls will be just kind of like drawn to you in that way? Like the
Ab-
way that my wife and I were? Like, how do you, like, what are your experiences with that, with other people?
Absolutely. I would say that if when I'm out in the world, just even in my own neighborhood, just shopping at a food co-op or going to the post office, uh, I have several spiritual encounters a day,
Yeah.
and people see me as an expert in something, so they will
Yeah.
come up to me, total strangers, and ask me questions that I really don't know the answers to, including directions and that kind of thing. But also, I really need some help right now. And then they're just telling me their life story. This is a very, very common experience for me since I was a little girl.
Yeah.
And the other experience is I dance everywhere. I
Oh,
mean, I hear music in the supermarket or wherever, and I'm dancing.
I
Um,
love it.
all summer long, there's free concerts in this beautiful area, and I'm known as the dancer, but I consider that a frequency generator. I've always danced since I was a little kid, and people are always coming. You're the dancer. They may not know anything else about me. They never get into a conversation about anything else, but it's more than flattering for me. It's more about how wonderful to generate joy through that, through something that we can all do. I mean, I have my favorite two Vietnam vets who I dance with. They're both in wheelchairs. They're both, one is a quadriplegic.
Wow.
And the other is, but I make them spin their chairs, and we have a blast. And, so it doesn't really matter what state of the body it is. I try to get everyone engaged in the dance because it's that joy generator, and it's a spiritual moment for me. Absolutely. So
I love that.
to me, for just my energy, I guess, I don't know, but I also, just because I find ways to generate joy.
That's important. And the four highest frequencies are joy and the gratitude, love, and authenticity. And you being the Aquarius rising, it's definitely a very authentic energy. And let me tell you, you're going to have a fascinating 20 years starting November 19th, my friend, with Pluto coming on your ascendant. It is only going to magnify your energy and your gifts and even take you down some new paths. So, okay, so I want to get back to that because right now, what do you feel people can be seeing?
Yeah.
For an example, out of the corner of my eye, and when the veils are thin, like seeing the elementals and fairies. For me, one time, and people are dimension hopping and feeling like whoa, I just where did I go? But I literally thought I saw a gentleman or some man in my backyard one day, and wasn't supposed to be there, right? So I'm getting up, and I'm oh, it's about to be on. I gotta go do my man thing, right? What are you doing to my property? I went out there, Elke. No one was there.
No.
Nobody was there. But I know that I saw someone.
Yes.
So is this common with the veil being so thin now? And what else do you feel that we can potentially experience during this time?
We've had a very difficult, I don't have to go into it much because we all know we've had a difficult last few years.
Oh, yes.
Yes. The other side is getting quite crowded right now. And so a lot of people are experiencing their people on the other side and actually experiencing them. So there's that. There's also sightings of other kinds of beings, including Sasquatch or Yetis. I myself, in our local forest, I'm a forest, I call myself the forest empress. I'm in the forest almost every day.
Wow.
And I've had 3 sightings of this huge being, brown and silver, I guess you could call it hair, and it just streaked by. I don't know if it was a he or she, but it just went by across the path. And so I believe that as we are seeing not just the thinning of the veils, but the increase in frequency and our multidimensional nature,
right.
We're also in tune with the other dimensions. So if, say, the elementals and beings like Yetis and angelics are in a higher dimension, those of us who are waking up more and more and more are going to have more of those, not just sightings, but feelings, communications, because they're here all the time. They didn't go away.
Yeah.
Although some of the elementals, yes, actually a lot of them, because of the environmental destruction, frankly, they're habitat too. They are of nature.
Yeah.
Yet in places of nature, more and more people are tuning into them, especially children. And that's the other thing we're going to see a lot more of and hear from. So listen to the kids, because they are aching to have the guidance and just someone to hear them, that they're experiencing all these things, and they're seeing, I used to have these imaginary playmates when I was little, and they were about my size, they were really small, and we would hold hands, close our eyes, and we go to different planets.
Wow.
So you know, little kids twinkle at me all the time, and I'm down, and I crouch down and I talk with them as if they are the adult in the room. I mean, they really, really are very, very wise. So I think we should see a lot more of that too. And one more thing, when we increase our awareness, we're going to be aware of everything, including the darkness,
Yeah.
including the shadow side, including what I feel has kind of held sway and held us all captive. I call it slave consciousness for many, many years, but we're breaking free of that.
Yeah.
And the consciousness behind that slave consciousness doesn't like it. So again, I think all these astrological or these astronomical, incredible things and asteroids and other things are pointing to that we're breaking free from that view of the earth.
Yeah. And I see that astrologically.
Yeah.
This is the last time Pluto will be in Capricorn in our lifetime. And so I've been telling people to get your popcorn ready because it's sort of dissolving and kind of like destroying, and then we need to rebuild all
Yeah.
the structures and systems. That was, since 2008, that was, the stock market crash. We've had Me Too, but we're seeing the veils and the kind of like the truth from all the deception
Yes.
from, political, medical, entertainment,
Yes.
financial. The
Yep.
more the medical will be revealed during Pluto Aquarius, because Aquarius deals with science and technology and
Yes.
environmental stuff. Some of these organizations claiming to help people that are really not. All
Yes.
that's going to be revealed the next 20 years. But definitely entertainment, political, and financial. So how important is it? Because I feel that it is of the utmost importance. I tell people get concerned that we're on the precipice of World War III. I'm like, no, World War III has been going on for a long time, and it's spiritual warfare. Maybe World War IV could be coming up soon. But like, how important it is for people to ground and connect with the trees and nature, Gaia, Mother Earth, and to have a spiritual daily practice. Because I think it's been go time, and it is what is going to be our saving grace to take us past these next couple of years that are going to be extremely challenging. What do you share with your clients and people that you lead and work with in your groups?
I share that it only takes 20 minutes to a half an hour a day of connecting with your true self, connecting with source, what I call source or great spirit. That's it. That's all. That's the minimum. Now, mind, to me, it doesn't really matter what sort of practice you adopt, as long as it is connecting with source, and that is fortifying our core, our spiritual core, so that we can see through the illusion of the whole crazy
matrix.
Yeah, cray, which I can talk about for hours, but I choose not to. I'm actually very quiet about all of that.
Yeah.
Because I'm too busy responding to people who want to and are breaking free. Breaking free of that slave consciousness, becoming that light being that we already are.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I put my focus, and I do offer people, ways of protecting their healthy boundaries, their spiritual boundaries. I do offer ways of clearing and cleaning their energy fields. Very simple stuff people can do. Beyond that, though, really, it is remembering who we truly are. If there's nothing else that I do in my entire life but help people remember who they actually are, I'm a happy camper.
I love that. So share with the audience your website and some of the services you offer and how people can book with you and just kind of get into the Elke spiritual magical energy.
Well, it's pretty easy to find. It's Elke, that ELKE, at elkespage.com. That's the name of my website, is Elke's Page, ELKES page.com. And I haven't blogged for years, but there are some lovely things there and a few YouTube stuff. But mostly it's about what do I offer, and just my whole view of Earth, Earth life. So they can find me there and just ping me, and I do things at a distance or in a very, very beautiful place in the U.S. About 90 minutes from Seattle, in a lovely town called Anacortes. So
I've never been to Washington.
it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
When I arrived in the pouring rain in 1983, I was in love immediately, and I knew nobody, but it's the energy of the place. It's the mountains, sea. There are several portals here, vortices, all kinds of things that I, was guided to. I felt like I was guided to this area that has a forest that I can access at any time, and it's safe. There's no big animals in there.
No tigers or lions roaming around.
No, not even a bear, even though a bear is one of my totems. So, but I really do. I feel so led to be here so that I can, beam and allow the love to come from here. And then people come from around the world to visit me here.
Yeah.
Because
wow. That's so beautiful. Okay. So share with the audience, some of your magical aura gifts and abilities, and explain it, and then share what you saw with, maybe if you want to share, I'm open to it. If you want to talk about, you did a aura reading of Mr. Biggie Astrology, Eric Taylor.
Yeah, I did. So when I see auras, it's in color. So frequencies are frequencies. Frequencies can be perceived as sound. Frequencies can be perceived sensually. The feelings you get in your gut or your heart or what have you, your skin, I call them lightning bolts down the spine.
Yeah.
So I get all those kinds of things too, but I'm a seer, and again, snapped open awake, at 21 years old, thought I was going crazy. I'm a very fortunate woman though, in that all these people walked into my life, including my physics professor of all things, who set up some experiments with me early on. I looked at people who were under cover in hospital situations, and I knew nothing about them, and I would describe what I saw, and I was accurate on everybody.
Wow.
So that scared me. And I wasn't sure I wanted to be a human X-ray, like, oh my God, is that, what do I do with this? Because I do see these kinds of things. I do see where there's distress in the body, or where there's something that could use, some healing or facilitation.
Right.
So well into my journey of being a counselor, and I got my degree in psychology and then master's degree, blah, blah, etc. And I was about as ordinary a counselor as I could possibly be in the early days. But then it all went crazy. And about 30 years ago or so, I started doing these aura portraits, because really my fascination is there's the human being, okay? So there's the human you, Eric, your attitudes and opinions and your personality and everything that makes you human, your physicality, your emotions, etc. But there's also what's that being thing, like who's that? So that's been my fascination from the very beginning, especially when I started seeing auras again. So a friend of mine was going through some changes in life. She was an artist, and she said, "Hey, would you mind drawing my aura?" And I said, okay. She handed me some crayons, and I started drawing, and she was just blown away. She said, "What is that?" I said, "Well, this is what I see. I mean, come on." And it took off from there. So when I do an aura portrait, I'm literally allowing, actually, anything that I do, Biggie, I mean, from healing work to guidance or whatever, your energy is communicating with me.
Right.
So it's not just about Elke's opinion. It's about what is it that your energy is saying to me. People bring their supplements in, they bring medications in. I'm not kidding you. I'm not kidding you.
No, I can imagine.
Just hold it in their energy, and there's kinesiology and other ways of getting information about yes and no, but they just hold it in their energy and your aura responds with yay, wide open,
So,
or
honey, I want to interrupt you for a quick second. Do you actually do or use kinesiology, like the muscle testing as well, or no?
I haven't had to because I
Did you
see,
just see it?
but I do teach it, and I have used it, and I do make sure that people know how to use it. However,
Because that is part of your Aries moon in the third house, being
yeah,
able to do that.
yeah, and that said, though, like I caution people that if your emotions, or if you have just like this real desire for a certain answer, that will influence the muscle checking.
Ah, that's
So
good
that's
to
when
know.
they come in and they get confirmation from me. And your energy either responds with, it grows with a yes, and it collapses in itself with a no. And I think that we already know it, but people come in just for the confirmation. But back to the aura portraits. So I started drawing these things, and these are pictures of your soul, more of the being part of your energy. And so uh, you have three vibrations that are absolutely fascinating. I consider you a turquoise brother, and turquoise, which surrounds you, and it's several feet all around you,
Mm,
is the visionary tribe. The turquoise people are the visionary tribe.
right.
Lots of ideas, 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 ideas. I don't know what that has to do with your astrological thing, but
Well, wait, you know what it has to deal with is that in a former life, I've had many iterations, right? I was a teacher, 10 years with severely multiply disabled children, 13 years teaching, also taught like preschool and acting to 9 to 11-year-olds. But in my vanity years, I was a professional actor. I did television, film, theater, and print modeling. And I am a writer. So I have written a movie and a play, a bunch of monologues. I used to sell monologues that have written for actors, and sketch comedy. You
totally
know,
turquoise,
so,
totally turquoise. And not only that, there's also a turquoise. See this kind of diamond-like thing?
right.
That's actually a Pisces rendering, because we can't do geometric forms too well, but it's actually a double pyramid or a octagon, and it's turquoise, and so, and it's right in the middle. Here's your body, and so it's right in the middle of it, and that means that you have all the ideas encapsulated. You brought them with you, not only to the planet, because I feel that that was very true, and that's why you do this, you do that, you write, you sing, and etc. That's very turquoise. Variety is not just the spice of life; it is life for turquoise people. We cannot bear doing the same thing every day. Oh my God, just kill me now. So,
I gotta mix it up. I gotta mix it up.
right, but also all the information is right there. Then you see these golden streamers. That's very, very unusual to see gold in a person's aura. And basically what that meant to me is that, from the universe is still streaming some basically intensely advanced energies and understandings, but also manifesting powers. So think it and be it. I mean, big time for you, Eric. Just all these ideas are just, when you choose them, they're going to land firmly on the planet, and zoom, you're off to the races. But they're divine ideas. And
Yeah.
then you're surrounded by a sphere. This is actually a sphere that surrounds you, like a great big bubble of indigo. And indigo is extrasensory perceptions and the color of the third eye. And the two combination of the turquoise and the indigo, I usually call folks like yourself natural shamans, again, walkers between the worlds. Because you know, when you do astrology speak, it's just so, like, my right brain just kind of goes nuts because I don't, you know, I can barely understand it. I understand all, but
Well, I
but,
try not to be over technical, and I think that's one of my gifts, right? I
but,
tap
but
in
just
spiritually and more intuitively. Yeah.
that's just it, though, you know, because you can work both worlds and both hemispheres, and you can work heaven and you can work earth. You know, that's very, very turquoise, but it's also indigo. It's your indigo. That's the who is the knower.
Wow.
That's your spiritual gift. I feel
Yeah.
that's what I see. You know, and sometimes you have no idea why you know, but you just know. Sometimes there's backup with that knowing. Sometimes, you know, facts fly in, but sometimes, like, I don't know why I know this, but I know this. And so I just,
Could I ask you a question? Could that play out where I can remember different times in my life where, now I do more audible books,
yeah,
but, when I would used to read certain books, even college, and just mainly I would say, most of your learning is after college, right?
right,
And that's when I did a ton of learning. But
right.
sometimes I would go to read something. It could be a book, it could be an article, whatever, but it was almost like I already know this. You know
Yes,
what I mean? It was more like just like, okay, like I could just read a part of it. I'm like, yeah, I get it. Okay, I already knew that. Like I know that.
yes,
Would that connect with that?
exactly.
Okay.
That's exactly it. For folks like yourself, learning, and I'll put the word learning in air quotes, is more like remembering.
Yeah. And that's how it was, Elka, when I decided to, actually take astrology courses.
Yep, I
It
believe.
was the remembering, and and I've had different Akashic Records readings with Devi Solaris and different people, and people have said and seen that I've been doing this since the beginning. Help form the constellations of the zodiac, and been doing astrology for millennium, and in Atlantis, and ancient Kemet in different places. And so you're right. That's kind of fascinating to me because it didn't make sense how quickly I picked it up. It was really a remembering.
Yeah. And the same thing for me as another indigo person. Um, there's so many things that I swear I get by through osmosis almost, you know, that it's just this knowing and it resonates with me. And that's how I've walked my path too. There are some things that just don't resonate with me, and it's not that they're wrong,
Right.
but it's just like, hmm, no, that's not for me. And I think that's a good thing. I think it's very good to be discerning what is correct for oneself.
Yes.
Because then you get to trust yourself some more and more and more and more. And that's the other thing that I try to do with these aura portraits, with guidance. I really want people to start trusting themselves again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's so fascinating because I find a lot in Western cultures, you're we're not taught to tap into our instincts and our intuition,
Yeah.
where for more indigenous cultures, intuition is really such a guide and such a divine wisdom. And for you, when you spoke about, for you being the indigo like myself and having those gifts, I see that within you when you mentioned the like, it talked about the Venus and Taurus, and you being a good cook, but the music, the creativity, the dancing. So Elka, you guys, has the Venus Taurus in the fourth house, so that even speaks to working from home, and being this great cook and loving the forest and nature. But the Gemini South Node in the fifth house, your hands have been gifted. So the drumming is something that I feel you've been doing for, maybe multiple lives or the most recent past lives. And do you kind of feel that in your soul?
Absolutely. Even when I was a little girl, my father and I would play bongo drums and that sort of thing. But also, my father had gifted hands. He had healing hands. We were totally used to, or at least I was used to as a little girl, like if I didn't feel well or I had a fever or something, my dad would say, lie down. He'd put one hand on my head and one hand on my belly, and I'd feel all this heat, and he said, go play. He didn't know what to call it. So finally there was a chiropractor who joined our family via marriage to my aunt, and my dad said, okay, now I have a name for it. He gave adjustments. So I feel like I inherited that from him, and his mother predicted dreams and interpreted dreams in World War II Germany and previous to World War II Germany in secret. And so, I think that's a lot of also why this is not a part of our education, or we don't have support for these incredible gifts that we could be using all the time to like to help. So anyway, it was wonderful. It is wonderful to meet another indigo turquoise soul that you are actually sharing your gifts. I think it's outstanding.
Oh, thank you. That I received that, and it's really fascinating. And I was kind of, it was more confirmation, but at the same time being kind of blown away because, I've had people comment on my aura before, but, not ever to this experience or detail. And just to get that download and that insight and knowledge, it's really fascinating. But it also is kind of like me, what you described is really all my multifaceted experiences. So now I want to get to something kind of deep, right? Because we met at the near-death conference, IANDS, and you mentioned, I believe you said this was with your second husband for 35 years, that he experienced the NDE and you experienced a spiritual transformative experience with him. And I see that in your chart, right? Now, you said he's a Cancer sun, but he would probably have some Leo placements. And your seventh house is Leo, and you have the Jupiter almost, I think, in an exact conjunction with Pluto in Leo in the seventh house. And that would describe, like, literally the husband having that, transformation. Like Pluto is transformation, transmutation, death, and rebirth.
Yeah.
So share that experience with the audience, whatever you are open to sharing. And what did you feel energetically, and what was his experience and your experience together?
Yeah, we used to give presentations on both sides of the equation. We called it the near-death experience from both sides of the veil. So actually, he was my third husband. I already knew the concept of, and had met many people who had near-death experiences up to that point. Okay. My mother and I attended my very first IANDS meeting actually in 1984.
Wow. Yeah, that's incredible. I didn't know they were going back that far.
Oh yes, a local meeting in Seattle, and we were listening to somebody's story, and my mother turned to me and said, I had one of those. I said, what? So she shared that at 13 or 14 years old, she was walking along a road in Germany 2 days after the war ended. She was sent to find a gift for a farming family that had taken in her family as refugees. And she actually was accosted by an American soldier and choked to death. So, war is hell. What can I say?
Yeah.
But she went to the other side. She saw a Christ-like figure. She saw her grandmother, who she didn't know had died, who told her to come back to the earth. And she felt very strongly that helped her to bring me into life and to support me with my gifts. So anyway, I already knew about near-death experiencers, read Life After Life, Raymond Moody's seminal book. But in 1996, I was supposed to be giving a presentation about auras at a large center in Oregon, about 6-hour drive from where we lived.
Right.
I was also booked up with a waiting list for aura portraits that weekend. I mean, I was booked up to here, and 3 weeks before I was to leave for this work trip, I got a call from the owner of this place and said, "We're having a family situation. We need to cancel your gig." And I'm like, What?" And he muttered something else. I mean, I just kind of faded because it didn't make any sense whatsoever. He had plenty of staff. I was booked up like crazy. It made zero sense. But I thought, okay, what do I do now? So I had a number of people who wanted a shamanic class. So I did the old fashioned thing and made several phone calls to clients and said, "Hey, I'm going to have a class here. Come to it." So the day of my husband's near death experience, I was home. I wasn't supposed to be home.
Wow.
I was supposed to be 6 hours away. So I came home from the class. I went to bed early. I barely felt him coming into the room, to go to sleep. And the next thing you know, I heard him scream as if he was being murdered. And I saw in the moonlight his body arch up and then slam down to the bed. And he had a artificial heart valve, so I could hear that it stopped. He stopped breathing. His eyes were blank. His aura, his spirit, was in the corner of the room up on the ceiling. So 3 women showed up for this event, me as the wife, dialing 911, frantic. Me as a person you want to have in an emergency. I knew CPR. I've done many CPRs since. So I'm doing compressions on him. And me as the shaman, and the seer, seeing his aura and saying, "Get back down here." It's not ready to go.
Wow.
It was my experience. It was just, oh my God, it was almost stopped my own heart. He came back, though, just as the volunteer EMTs were there, and he kept trying to push them away. "I'm fine. You have the wrong place." And he looked like he had just this shine on his face, as if he had been on this incredible adventure.
How long was he kind of out for?
Well, I was doing compressions on him for 15 minutes.
Wow.
CPR, 15 minutes. And then finally, he came back just as the EMTs were arriving. And so that's a long time. But his adventure seemed like it was hours and hours and days worth of adventure.
Yeah, time on the other side is so different. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So he was in a pyramid. He was verging into oneness with energy, all kinds of adventures. And thank goodness that I knew about near-death experiences, because a number of people, who are married to near-death experiences, I mean, the divorce rates are high because
I've heard that. Yeah.
percent.
That's and that's sad. My wife and I met somebody at the conference, and she was there, and
Yeah.
she, I don't want
Yeah.
to say her name or anything, but she had mentioned that her husband wasn't kind of supporting her and didn't always believe or doesn't believe all that she saw or had
Yeah.
spiritually gone through.
Yeah.
And for me, my wife has just been like 110% supportive and behind me. And
Beautiful soul and a beautiful woman. You two are not only meant for each other, but exceedingly fortunate to have that kind of support. So my husband too, I feel this was a prearranged thing.
yeah,
His life was changed forever. My life was changed forever. I had to do some caring afterwards because, there was some brain disability and la, la, la. So, it's such an amazing world. And I love that there are organizations that hold people in support. I love that there are people like yourself and myself who hold people in support, who, can't really talk about any of this to anybody for fear of sounding crazy. Since his near-death experience, he's now a death experiencer, and he left this dimension on August 1st, 2020. His heart finally just gave out. And
wow, so that's actually Leo's season, and he's got the Pluto Jupiter, and
oh,
Jupiter in your chart represents the husband, and it's in Leo.
oh wow, interesting.
Wow, that just gave me chills. That's
Yeah, it gave me chills too because it felt. I mean, of course, I was in shock, even though he was on hospice. He still was walking around. He was working on. He wanted to. You ready for this? He wanted to create a map of everything. We called it Mo. He would sit in front of his computer for hours looking at physics and metaphysics and this, all kinds of channeling. Some of the channelings I brought through, all kinds of stuff. And that's what he was working on.
map of everything. I love that. That dances very well in my cranium. I get that.
Yeah. So
Wow.
that was our experience. But again, for me, it's wonderful that now, by the way, shortly thereafter, I took the training. I decided to volunteer as facilitator for these online sharing groups for IANDS.
Yeah.
And I've been doing it ever since. And I just love it. It's one of my favorite services to just to offer, because I love to be there for people who they can't talk to anybody else.
Listen, it's important, and maybe I'll have to come to one of your groups. I'm going to be at
Hawaii,
Shaman's group on
right?
October 1st. Yeah, so
Right.
sharing my story, and it's important. It's very. I felt very seen at IAMS. You know what I mean? And
Believe it.
it was very supportive, and it was just a magical experience. And you kind of started it all off. So it's time to segue to
Okay.
the magical sounds that you make and create, and you share with us and the audience today your drumming gift, because it is a gift. And look, people will get what they get through the technology and the computer, but live and in person, whoa. I mean, my wife and I, we left the conference talking about it days and days and days afterwards, because it was that powerful. So the floor is yours, my friend.
I want you to bring all your awareness, all your attention, everything you've got to the center of your personal universe, the heart center. The center of your personal universe, where there is only one substance, one frequency, and that is pure love. Always, always, always emanating from that center. Pure love. Pure love emanates and pours into your form, into your structure, into the human. Pure love pours into your energy field and is always emanating out into the world. So bring your awareness there. Bring it all in. And allow yourself to be aware of that heart center while I call in the energies of the universe. I call in the power of the thunder beings. I call in the power of the earth. I call on the power of the east. and west. I call on the power of the north and south. Oh, the time has come. The time has come to unite as one. Oh, yeah. Oh, the time has come to encircle the world with our love. Blessings to you all.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you, my friend. And you guys in person, she gave us the short version in person. Elke, this was so wonderful. So I'm vibrating in my heart just like opened up so lovely that quickly. But in closing and in ending, and I feel like we could do like 30 hours and just have a marathon, but that would have to be live. And so, one, I would like to invite you back on maybe before the end of the year as like a holiday gift for the audience. Would you be willing to come on live?
I would love it.
Okay, that's a date.
Absolutely.
We'll set that up for like mid to late December,
You
and
bet.
then share with the audience your website again. And then a closing message of positivity, of love, of healing, whatever you would love to share with the audience.
So it's Elke's page. So ELKES page.com. That's my website. You can find me on Facebook too under that name that you see on the screen. Or, just ask a friend, hey, do you know Elke?
I love it.
Happen all the time. I don't know, like, oh, yes. But what I really want to say to people is, there is a natural process that is happening all the time, all the time. And I shared that in the initial drumming. And that is that our heart center, right here in the center of your chest, there's always an emanation of love, always, whether you know it or not. It's always flowing, it's always emanating. It's natural. There is no way to stop it. It emanates without end. It is our awareness, though, of that will bring about great healing, incredible connection, beaming and being a light unto the world. So just draw your attention to that. That's all you need to do. Just draw your attention once in a while to that heart center and that emanation of love. And I think you're going to be just fine.
I love that. I love that. And I know, you guys, faith over fear, always. Just like Elke said, vibrate from the heart, right?
Yeah.
No low vibrational energies. It will not serve you. So fear nothing.
No, because honestly, that love vibration, that love emanation is also purifying, is releasing those fears. So that's all we need to do. Thank you so much, Eric. This has been a blast.
Oh, I love it. This has been so amazing for me as well. Everybody, please like, share, and subscribe. This is an episode that, maybe you have a friend that, doesn't ever like to hear about anything spiritual or woohoo or whatever. Send them this one. Send this to them, because you never know when they may click on it. You never know when it may spark their heart, their third eye, whatever. So don't hesitate to, to share beautiful connections like this, and please reach out to Elke. She's someone you want to connect with. So thank you so much. This has been, oh my God, so much fun. And this has been episode 252 of my Knowledge is Love Astrology podcast. And have a wonderful Libra solar eclipse, and watch this a couple times during that day, and you'll enjoy it on Wednesday. All right. So this will be perfect energy for this harmonious, peaceful new beginning for all of us in the collective. All right. Yeah. Thank you again, Elke.
Okay. Love to all. Take care.
Bye, you guys.
Bye.
Bye.